What do you mean we lost 3 drivers this month alone? Owen Hartley's voice cut through the boardroom like a sharp blade. The district manager across from him flinched. They quit. One moved out of state, another said the schedule was too rough, and the last one, well, he just stopped showing up. Owen tapped the edge of the table. 18 delivery hubs across 3 states, and this one had been showing red on his reports for months. Late deliveries, missing inventory, poor reviews on drivers, but no one could give him a straight answer beyond we're short-staffed. He inherited the company from his father 3 years ago. It had grown fast, swallowed up competitors, added more locations. He'd been sitting in boardrooms too long, he knew it. The only time he ever visited stores now was for ribbon cuttings or PR photos. Which location is this again? Branch 12, the one out in Southwood. Owen had never been there. The staff wouldn't know his face. He'd never stepped foot in that warehouse. He leaned back in his chair, a plan forming. "Don't tell anyone I'm coming," he said. "I'm going to Southwood." As a driver. 2 days later, Owen stood in the warehouse's grimy breakroom, wearing a faded gray hoodie, jeans, and a fake name badge, Illy. His beard was fuller now, his hair darkened. Contact lenses swapped his icy blue eyes for muddy brown. He'd spent an hour watching delivery driver training videos the night before, making sure he could blend in. The hiring manager, a wiry guy named Troy, barely glanced at him. "New guy?" asked a younger driver, tossing a half-eaten granola bar into a trash can. "You're late." "Sorry," Owen muttered, playing along. He got paired with a senior driver named Clara. Late 40s, salt and pepper braid, eyes that looked like they'd seen too much. She didn't say much at first, just handed him a clipboard and told him to check the van's tires. Their first few deliveries were quiet. Clara drove like she'd done it a million times, weaving through traffic, taking back roads, skipping lunch. Owen noticed she didn't drink any coffee, didn't eat anything. "You always skip breaks?" he asked. "Time's money," she said without looking at him. At stop number 7, they pulled into a grocery store parking lot. Clara asked him to run the package inside. When he came back, she was sitting in the passenger seat, rubbing her temples. "You okay?" "I'm fine," she muttered, but her voice trembled. Owen sat down behind the wheel. "You don't look fine." She didn't answer, just stared out the window. Then, after a long silence, she murmured, "You know what's funny? I've worked here 12 years, never called in sick, trained half the people in that warehouse, but I've never had a raise." Owen stayed quiet. Clara gave a sad laugh. "They tell me I'm lucky to have a job. Maybe I am." The next few deliveries passed in silence. They finished late. The sun had dipped behind the trees. As they pulled back into the warehouse lot, Owen noticed Clara didn't park near the building like the others. She pulled around back, near the edge of the lot where no lights reached. "Why are we parking here?" he asked. Clara didn't answer. She just climbed out, grabbed her backpack, and walked over to an old blue SUV. She opened the back door, sat inside, and pulled a blanket over her lap. Owen froze. Completely still, she wasn't leaving. She was settling in. He stepped out of the van slowly, heart thudding. She was living in her car, a senior employee. 12 years on the job, Clara noticed him watching. Her jaw clenched. "Don't," she said. "Just don't. You live here." She didn't answer. He felt like the air had been knocked out of him. "I thought I was here to check on bad management," he said quietly. "I wasn't expecting this." Clara's face twisted. "Don't pity me, all right? I'm not asking for anything." He took a step forward. "Have you told anyone?" "Told who?" "Troy, the guy who schedules me for 6 days a week and still calls me sweetheart." Owen's hands curled into fists. She grabbed her blanket tighter. "Look, man, just do your job, get your paycheck, you'll be gone in a week anyway." He didn't say anything. Just nodded slowly, then backed away. Inside the warehouse, he sat alone in the break room and stared at the dented vending machine. He had come here expecting to uncover lazy staff or sloppy drivers. Instead, he found the most loyal worker he had, sleeping in a cold SUV behind his own building. By the next morning, Owen was back in the same hoodie, same scuffed warehouse-issued boots, standing by the loading dock with a clipboard in his hand and a knot in his stomach. He didn't sleep much. Every time he closed his eyes, Clara's voice echoed back, tired, resigned, and raw. He hadn't told anyone what he saw. Not yet. He needed to understand the full picture before making any moves. A short, sharp whistle cut through the morning air. "New guy, you deaf." A tall man in a reflective vest and cargo shorts waved him over. His name tag read Randy. He was one of the floor supervisors, mid-30s, buzzcut, wore sunglasses even though they were still under the warehouse canopy. Owen walked over without a word. "Take Bay 4, route's already loaded, don't mess it up," Randy said. "Got it." "Am I riding with anyone today? You're solo." "Trial by fire," Randy said, then turned to shout at another driver about a mislabeled crate. Owen headed to the van. The manifest showed 23 stops, scattered across industrial parks and residential neighborhoods. A few minutes later, he pulled out of the lot and merged onto the highway, lost in thought. At stop 6, a woman answered the door holding a toddler on her hip. She took the package with a nod, then hesitated. "Hey, you're with Rapid Route, right?" "Yeah," she adjusted the toddler, who kept trying to grab her hair. "My last delivery was 3 days late. No one answered the phone. I had to drive to the warehouse just to get someone to talk to me." "I'm sorry to hear that," Owen said. "The phone's at our location. They don't always get answered," she frowned. "Not once. I left 6 messages, no call back, not even an auto reply." Owen thanked her and returned to the van. As he drove, he started mentally stacking what he was learning. 1. Employees overworked. 2. Communication lines broken. 3. Senior staff living in their cars. 4. Leadership non-existent. At the 12th delivery, a small construction site, a foreman flagged him down before he could even step out of the van. "You with Southwood?" Owen nodded. The foreman shook his head. "Figures." "You're 3 days late. Again." "I just got this route today." The foreman didn't look interested. "Tell your boss to get their act together. We've had to shut down half a crew waiting on parts." Owen apologized and promised to relay the message. As he got back on the road, his phone buzzed. Not his real phone, just the burner work phone issued at onboarding. A text from Randy. "Hurry up, you're behind." Owen looked at the clock. It was 12:46. He hadn't stopped once, hadn't taken a break. He was still behind. He finished the route just after 5. His back ached. His shirt clung to him. When he pulled into the lot, Troy was leaning against a stack of pallets, eating something from a foil wrapper. "You're late," he said without looking up. "Finished all the drops." "Still late." "Clara finishes faster and she's pushing 50, Troy said. Owen didn't respond. Troy finally looked up. "Something to say?" "No, just handing over the manifest." As Owen turned to leave, he heard Troy mutter, "Probably hired you out of pity." Owen stopped walking. "What did you say?" Troy shrugged. "Nothing, go clock out." Owen stared at him. "You always talk to people that way," Troy squinted. "You got a problem?" "No, not yet." That night, Owen didn't go home. He parked a few blocks away and walked back to the lot, keeping to the shadows. Clara's SUV was there again. The same blanket, same spot near the fence line. He sat on a curb across the street, watching the warehouse lights flicker off one by one. By morning, he was back in the warehouse. Today, he was paired with a younger driver, Marcus. Early 20s, loud, fast-talking, always bouncing his knee. "Man, I'm telling you, they cut our hours but added more stops. I was out till 9 last Thursday." "Is that normal, lately?" "Yeah, and don't even try to call out." "My boy Jamal had a stomach bug last week and Troy told him if he missed again, he's fired." They loaded the van in silence for a while. "You ever talk to Clara?" Owen asked. Marcus paused. "She's cool, quiet, works harder than all of us. But she keeps to herself." "She ever mention needing help?" Marcus eyed him. "You asking a lot of questions for a new guy." Owen didn't reply. They hit the road and the route went fast. Marcus drove, Owen handled the drop-offs. At one stop, while Owen was walking back to the van, he noticed Marcus on the phone, voice low. "Yeah, I know, I'm trying to pick up shifts. I just need a little more time. No, I haven't told them yet." He ended the call quickly when Owen got in. "You all right?" Marcus forced a laugh. "Yeah, just bills, you know." Owen nodded, but didn't push back. At the warehouse. Chaos was building. A driver was arguing with Randy about dispatch errors. Clara walked in quietly, signed something on a clipboard, and started loading boxes into her van. No one helped her. Troy stepped out of the office and barked, "Double-check the labels this time, Clara. Last week you sent a package to the wrong zip." She didn't respond. Owen walked over. "You need a hand?" Clara looked at him, surprised. You don't have your own route, not today. Just floating. She hesitated, then passed him a box. Troy watched from a distance, chewing a toothpick. Once they finished loading, Clara leaned against the van. You're not like the others. I'm just trying to learn. She folded her arms. You ask too many questions to be just learning. Owen didn't answer. That night, he called his assistant from his real phone, keeping his voice low. Send me every payroll record for Southwood. I want to know who's full-time but classified as part-time. And pull the security camera logs for the past 2 weeks. I want to see who's been sleeping in that lot. The next morning, he walked into the warehouse before anyone else, still in disguise. He waited until Troy arrived, then called him over behind a stack of pallets. I need to speak to you. Troy scratched his arm. You again? What now? Owen stepped forward. You're done here, Troy blinked. What? You heard me. You're finished. I'm not a driver. My name's Owen Hartley. I own this company. Troy froze. I've watched you insult employees, ignore calls, cut hours, and let your most loyal worker sleep in her car. You're not just negligent, you're toxic. Troy's face flushed. You don't understand how it works here. I understand enough. Get your things. Security will escort you off the property. Randy came around the corner. You too, Owen said. What? You've been sitting on your hands while this place falls apart. You're either part of the problem or you watched it happen. Either way, you're done. By the time Clara walked in, both supervisors were gone. Owen stepped forward, this time wearing his real name badge. She looked at him, stunned. You lied. I had to see the truth. She stared at him. What happens now? Owen exhaled slowly. Now we fix it. Clara stood motionless beside her van, the early light casting long shadows across the lot. She studied Owen's face, trying to reconcile the man she'd spent 3 days with and the name she'd just heard. Her arms didn't drop, her posture didn't shift. She didn't ask for more details, only one thing came out. What are you going to do? Owen looked around the yard. The warehouse lights were flickering on and a few drivers were arriving, yawning, tossing backpacks into vans. I'll start with the truth, he said. Then I'm going to listen. He didn't wait for her to respond. He walked into the building, up the metal stairs that led to the narrow office above the dispatch floor. It was barely large enough for 2 desks and a filing cabinet. The air inside smelled like stale coffee and worn carpet. He called down to 2 of the warehouse leads people who had technically reported to Troy, but never seemed to have much authority. One was a woman named Davina, the other a middle-aged man named Lewis with a limp and thick glasses. They came up looking wary. You're not in trouble, Owen said immediately. I'm Owen Hartley. Yes, that Owen. Davina stiffened. Lewis adjusted his glasses. I'm not here to give a speech, Owen continued. I've been working here for the last 3 days. I saw how this place runs. You both kept your heads down, did your jobs, tried to stay out of the mess. I need your help now. Lewis glanced at Davina. What kind of help? I need to know who's been holding this place together. Davina folded her arms. Clara, Marcus, Jorge in loading. There's more, but those are the ones who never say no, even when they should. Owen nodded. Who's been ignored? Lewis answered this time. Everyone below Randy and Troy. They didn't listen to anyone unless it was yelling. I've already let them go, Owen said. Effective this morning, Davina blinked. Both? Yes, and I'm not bringing in replacements from corporate, not yet. I want interim decisions made by people who understand this place. Lewis looked down at his shoes. You serious? Yes, but I need honesty. If we're going to fix this, I need to know how deep the problems go. Davina stepped forward. We haven't had a working backup radio system in 2 months. Dispatchers take turns using one working headset. Sometimes, deliveries get missed because no one can reach the drivers. Lewis nodded. And the air conditioning in the back half of the building. It's been broken since May. We put in tickets, but no one followed up. Payroll, Owen asked. Davina hesitated. Some of us are listed as part-time, even though we work close to 50 hours a week. I think it's to avoid paying benefits. Owen didn't speak at first. He just sat down slowly at the desk behind him and pulled out a small notebook. I want you both to write down every name you trust on this staff, people who do right by the company and each other. We're going to start assigning responsibilities based on what people have earned, not what they were given. Lewis took the pen first. An hour later, Owen called a full staff meeting out in the warehouse. Drivers, loaders, dispatch clerks, and janitorial staff gathered near the main loading zone. Everyone looked confused, some whispered. A few glanced around, clearly expecting someone else to take charge. Owen stepped onto a wooden pallet and raised his voice just enough to carry. "My name is Owen Hartley. I'm the owner of Rapid Route. I've been working here undercover for the past 3 days. That got their attention. I've seen what this place has become. I've seen the exhaustion, the silence, the people doing 2 jobs for the price of 1. And I've seen the people who have been ignored, dismissed, and in some cases outright disrespected. That ends now." He paused, letting the words sink in. "As of this morning, your previous supervisors are no longer with this company. They failed you. I take responsibility for not seeing it sooner." No one clapped, no one moved, but the silence was different now, charged, waiting. "I'm not going to pretend we can fix everything overnight. We're short-staffed, our systems are behind, and some of you are doing the work of 2 people. But we're going to make changes starting today." From the back, someone finally asked, "Like what?" Owen stepped down from the pallet. "We're starting by reclassifying every employee working full-time hours. You'll be paid accordingly with benefits. Davina and Lewis will oversee the transition. I've created a direct line to corporate HR, and anyone who's ever been denied a raise or passed over for no reason, we want to hear from you." Another voice spoke up. "What about drivers sleeping in their cars?" Owen didn't flinch. "Not anymore. We've secured temporary housing support for any employee in that situation, and we're working with a local nonprofit to make it permanent. If you're struggling, talk to Davina or Lewis privately. No judgment." Clara was in the crowd, arms folded. She didn't speak, but she didn't look away either. After the meeting, Owen walked back into the office. A few emails had come in from corporate, mostly questions about the terminations. He replied briefly, attaching evidence and security footage. He didn't bother with long explanations. That afternoon, he met with Clara in the break room. She sat across from him, a sandwich untouched on the table. "You didn't have to do this," she said. "I did." She looked down at her hands. "I don't want pity. You're not getting any. You're getting the position you've earned. Effective tomorrow, you'll be in charge of driver scheduling and field operations." Clara looked up slowly. "That's Troy's old job." "No, Troy never did it. You've already been doing it without the title." She shook her head. "I never asked for this. You didn't need to." They sat in silence for a minute, then Clara spoke again. "Marcus needs help too. He's behind on rent. He's too proud to say it." "I know. We've got something lined up. Anonymous hardship grants through the employee fund." "He won't need to ask." Clara nodded, then stood. "All right. Then I'll do the job." As she walked away, Owen leaned back and exhaled. The work was only beginning. That night he stayed late, walking through every aisle of the warehouse, clipboard in hand. He made notes about cracked flooring, dim lights, and missing safety signage. He knew he couldn't fix morale with paint and promises alone, but it was a start. Near midnight, he spotted a van still parked by the gate. Inside, Marcus was asleep in the front seat, hoodie pulled over his face. Owen didn't knock. He just made a note to have a corporate prepaid card slipped into Marcus's locker the next morning, along with a list of local rental assistance programs. He'd spent years building a company from spreadsheets and strategy decks. Now he was seeing it for what it really was: people holding each other up when the systems failed them. No more distance. From now on, he'd walk the floor, he'd ask questions. And most importantly, he'd listen. By the following Monday, the Southwood branch was quieter than usual. Not sluggish, just focused. Drivers moved with a different posture. No one was looking over their shoulder, no one was being barked at, and for the first time in months, the break room didn't feel like a holding cell. Owen arrived early, wearing a plain button-up now, no hoodie, no disguise. He walked through the warehouse slowly, clipboard in hand, stopping to speak to people in short, direct exchanges. No small talk, no speeches, just questions like, "What should we fix next?" Or "What's still in your way?" He was taking notes, real ones. Lewis was stationed near dispatch with a folding table covered in forms. Every employee passing through was updating their classification and hours worked. The process was slow, and Owen knew it would take weeks to get payroll completely corrected, but the line kept moving. No one needed to be convinced. Clara was already in the small upstairs office, sorting through delivery route data with Davina. They both had mugs of black coffee and tired eyes, but neither looked annoyed by the workload. "You didn't have to come in this early," Owen said, stepping inside quietly. "No one asked us to," Clara replied, her eyes never leaving the spreadsheet in front of her. Davina added, "We're adjusting the routing software. Half the delays were caused by outdated zip code maps. No one ever bothered to update them." Owen leaned against the doorframe. "Do you need more staff?" "Eventually. But we're not bringing in just anybody," Clara said. "We're vetting applicants ourselves. Local referrals only for now. We don't need a repeat of what we had." Owen nodded once. "Good, that's the right call." As he turned to leave, Clara looked up. "The guy who used to unload trucks overnight, Tarek, he wants to come back. He left after being written up for taking 5 minutes too long on a shift. He was taking a breather because of a medical condition. What's he need to return? Just a call. And someone who'll treat him like a human being. Done. Bring him back. Let him set his own start date." Downstairs, Marcus was helping a newer hire, a lanky kid named Emilio, learn the scanning system. Owen watched for a moment from a distance. Marcus was calm, hands steady, voice even. There was no trace of the anxious energy from the week before. Owen approached after Emilio walked off. "You training now?" Marcus shrugged. "Clara asked me to, said I was good with people." "She's right. You are." Marcus looked hesitant. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course. Why did you come out here yourself? You could have sent someone, hired consultants, done a survey." "I stopped trusting reports that don't have fingerprints on them. I needed to see what I'd built, what I'd ignored." Marcus nodded once, then looked away. "I'm glad you did." Owen didn't answer. He didn't need to. Later that afternoon, a woman from corporate HR arrived. She wore simple flats, a thick folder under one arm, and a guarded expression. Owen met her right by the front desk. "I need you to audit every disciplinary file from the last 2 years, he told her. "Flag anything that looks retaliatory, inconsistent, or tied to outdated attendance policies. Do you want those removed from personnel records? Anything unjustified gets erased. And I want every employee notified when it's done." She adjusted her folder. "That's going to take time. Then start today." By early evening, Owen walked the perimeter of the building. The air was cooling down, streetlights flickered on. There were still 2 vans out on late routes. Clara had stayed behind to coordinate their returns. He found her sitting on the loading dock, scribbling notes in a small pocket notebook. "You always write everything down?" he asked. "Helps me keep track. This place used to change rules every other week." Writing it down made it real. He sat beside her. The concrete was cold, but he didn't mind. "You think the staff believes any of this will stick?" he asked. "They're watching more than they're listening. If we get lazy in 2 weeks, they'll go back to shutting down. They won't have to." "I'm not disappearing again." Clara closed her notebook. "Good, because you're not done." She wasn't challenging him, just stating a fact. "I know." The 2 vans returned just before 7. The drivers waved as they pulled in. No one looked rushed. One of them passed their clipboard to Davina without being asked. Inside, Lewis was setting up a whiteboard labeled "Fixes in Progress." Underneath were 3 bullet points: phones, a /C repair, and route map updates. Beside each item, a status update and a contact person. It wasn't elegant. It wasn't digital. But it was visible, and people had already started adding notes beneath each line. Owen didn't say anything. He just took a photo of it on his phone and walked out. The final step came on Friday. At the weekly check-in, Owen invited every employee to a short meeting in the break room. No pizza, no balloons, just chairs, water bottles, and a single clipboard passed around. When everyone had settled, Owen stood by the front. "This isn't a celebration," he said. "It's a checkpoint." He waited a beat before continuing. "There are 3 people I want to recognize, not for loyalty, not for staying quiet, but for speaking up and for refusing to let this place collapse." He looked to Marcus. "You've stepped into leadership without needing a title. You're patient, clear, and you don't wait to be told what's right. Starting next week, you'll be mentoring all new drivers, and your pay will reflect that." Marcus looked stunned. He nodded slowly but didn't speak. Then Owen turned to Davina. "You've kept records, called out issues, and stayed present even when no one gave you credit. I want you to oversee training across our regional branches. We'll start with Southwood, then expand outward. You'll have the resources you need. Davina's grip tightened on her water bottle, but her face stayed steady. Finally, Owen looked at Clara. And you, his voice dropped half a register, you saw everything and still showed up. You didn't wait for policy to change. You made sure the wheels kept turning. Clara folded her arms. I just did the job. You did more than that. You set the standard. That's why I want you to oversee all field operations for this region, not just Southwood. A few quiet murmurs passed through the room. Clara's eyes narrowed slightly. You sure that's smart? She asked. No, Owen said, but I'm sure it's right. She gave a short nod. The clipboard made its way around the room again, only this time it wasn't for complaints. It was a list of project teams' voluntary sign-ups for task forces working on fixes, safety protocols, equipment upgrades, and employee wellness. No one was forced to join. Yet nearly every hand took the pen. Owen left the room last. He stopped by the exit, looked back once, then stepped out. As he walked through the parking lot, he saw Clara's SUV still parked in its usual spot. But it was empty. He scanned the lot. She was already gone, probably driving home, a real home. That night, Owen sat alone at his desk in the back office, flipping through the original reports that had triggered his visit. Red flags, missed metrics, customer churn, none of them had mentioned people. He picked up a pen and wrote a short note on the back of one sheet. Data tells you where the fire is. People tell you how it started. He folded the paper, placed it in the top drawer, and locked it. Then he turned off the light and walked out.